and thank you for being here for our elementary skills webinar, our great quarter 1 webinar. We're so excited you made it. I am Miss Benedict. I'm just going to go over a couple things here really quick before we move on to the webinar. First, this does have Q&A time at the end of the webinar. If you have questions as we go on, just go ahead and type them in the chat to one of us, and we will get them and we will do our best to discuss them as we have time. We aren't going to stop the webinar for every question because we want to make sure we get through all the information first. So if you post a question and you're like, no one's answering my question, just know that's because we're going to cover it at the end of the webinar and not just every time they pop up. So our goal is to answer as many as we can, but we might not be able to. Write down your questions in the chat. We don't have video or audio on for this webinar, so please just use the chat. Again, write your questions in there, and that way we know to answer them at the end. And the meeting is going to be recorded, so you will have access to all this information later. I don't think, a bunch of you are like frantically trying to keep notes or anything, but if you are, you'll get a recording later along with the slides. Again, just because I see the question is popping up some, I know a couple new people just came in. We don't have video enabled for this one or audio, just because we, aren't doing that this time. So go ahead and chat your questions in the chat, and we will go from there. So first, right now, we're going to talk about who your counselors are. So we have Mrs. Crisp, who is one of our elementary school counselors. She is not here today. She is out, but we do have Mrs. Wilson, who probably some of you have interacted with because she's covering for her. We've also got Miss Doherty, who is our elementary school counselor as well. We've got Mrs. Blackburn here, who's our 6th and 7th grade counselor and our 3rd through 8th grade lead counselor. Miss Benedict, that's me, the Director of School Counseling and Guidance, and I already mentioned Mrs. Wilson, who will be speaking today. We're also joined by Mrs. Thompson, who is our bronze coordinator. I don't believe we have any bronze students here today, but if you have any friends who are bronze, that's who you're working with. Today, we are going to be covering the following: academic skills for success. How do I be a successful student? We'll talk about that. Some information about Livebinder. If you're new, maybe you don't know very much about Livebinder. If you're not new, maybe you just don't use it very much. So maybe you'll find out a little bit more today. We'll talk about how to study for quizzes and tests, and we'll go over some resources that you have access to. Then at the end, we're going to talk about some bullying awareness as it's October, and cyber safety, as well as our group's information, and then how to contact your counselor. And then we'll answer some questions at the end if we have any that come up. Again, make sure you're using the chat for those questions. So for now, I'm going to pass it off to Mrs. Wilson to talk a little bit about academic skills.
Wonderful. Thanks so much. So like Ms. Benedict said, we're going to talk about some academic skills for success. The first one is Livebinder, which we're actually going to talk about on our next slide, but that's a really great place to find some additional resources for your classes. We also highly recommend spending more time on each lesson. A lot of times for students who are struggling with their grades, it's just a matter of slowing down, reading things through, taking your time, double checking. And this way you can avoid a lot of mistakes that might be really easy to catch. Also, be sure to double check your answers before you turn in a quiz or a test, as well as when you're submitting an assignment, to make sure that you have the best answer possible. You can also take handwritten notes. Taking notes is a really great tool for you because you can always use those on your quizzes and your tests. So be sure to check out the resources that we have linked in this presentation for taking notes. You can also print your lessons. If you know you're going to be without internet, maybe you're going to be traveling, you can always print those ahead of time so that you can still keep up your work. You can also save them as a PDF and then print them that way. So there's instructions linked in this presentation on how to do that. Also, be sure to take advantage of your second attempt that you have on some quizzes and assignments. If you have questions about the second attempt, your teacher would be a really great person to reach out to, but those are a good opportunity for you to raise low scores, should that be available. There may also be the opportunity for you to submit corrections when you have received a lower score on an assignment or a quiz. Again, reach out to your teacher about that. And there's also a great how-to video linked in this presentation for you to check out. If you're ever struggling with a specific topic or lesson, reach out to your teacher. You can send them a message right in Ignitia, let them know what your question is or what you might be struggling with, and they can provide some additional support that way. And it's always a good rule of thumb to ask for help if you're struggling, because if you don't ask for help, then nobody knows how to best help you. And then if you are in the gold or above package, you do have the opportunity to request tutoring or join group sessions. So ask your teacher for the links to those or to schedule tutoring. The best way to get a hold of them for that would just be to send them a quick Ignition message. And next, we are going to talk about Livebinder. So, Livebinder, like I mentioned before, it has some really great resources for you. They are handpicked by your teacher to accompany each lesson and unit. So, if you're struggling with a certain class or a topic, I would recommend hop on Livebinder and see what may be available there. A lot of times, teachers will post extra videos or helpful resources that they found. Livebinder can provide you with more practice. And then in this presentation, there are videos on how to access and use Livebinder. So be sure to check that out once the presentation is sent out. Next, we are going to talk about studying for quizzes and tests. So like I said, definitely take handwritten notes. You can organize your notes by topic. You can color code them, add pictures, and like I said before, use them on your quizzes and tests. We do allow you to use those. So take advantage of that opportunity. Also, reread your notes to remember things that you might have forgotten when you're preparing for a quiz or a test. Be sure to skim through any lessons and quizzes for the unit that you're preparing for, because things can slip our mind. So it's always important to go back and brush up on something you might have forgotten about. And you can also ask for help from a family or friend. You can make flashcards and have your family or friend review the flashcards with you, and you can even test yourself. And there's some really great online flashcard resources, so you can also research some that might work for you. And remember that if you do have a score that's lower than a 73% on your first attempt on a quiz, you'll have a second attempt. So while you won't be able to see what you got wrong on the quiz, you will be able to look and review the information that the quiz had and then give it a second try to raise your score. Next, we are going to talk about some additional resources. So these are all linked either on our website or on our knowledge base. So be sure when this presentation is sent out to click through each of these links, but the links include frequently asked questions of students and families here at Enlightium. There's also some really great resources linked, such as extra credit opportunities and webinars. There are educational and online tools, which include digital resources, as well as language learning resources. We do have an e-library. It's called Sora, and Sora is a platform where you can borrow books for topics that you're interested in, just for personal use. So that's a really great opportunity to explore interests that you might have without having to go to a physical library location. We have a reading program, which gives you opportunity to read new books and also to earn extra credit. So check that out. Our knowledge base is a really great tool. I use the knowledge base on a regular basis. It's pretty much a one-stop shop for any question that you might have about Enlightium. So before you reach out to a teacher or a counselor, you can go onto our knowledge base and type in the topic that you're looking for more information about, and it's likely that you will find some sort of answer there. We also do have IXL, which is a supplemental resource for your curriculum. So if you find yourself struggling in English or math, or you just want to brush up on your skills or gain some new knowledge, definitely check out an IXL account. It'll assign you things based on your level and where you're at, and it'll help you get better on topics that you might struggle with. And if you need an IXL account, there is an email there that you can reach out to for login information. And then, of course, you are all in different support levels in this webinar. Most likely we have students in our silver program and above. So check out what's included in your support level just to make sure that you're not missing out on any resources available to you, like tutoring or live sessions. So that's a bit about resources and tools for success. And now I will pass it off to Ms. Doherty, who will talk about bullying prevention.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. October is Bullying Prevention Month. And today I just wanted to talk with you about what that means. What does it mean? What does bullying mean? Cyberbullying, and then how to stay safe. So, bullying is the unwanted aggressive behavior among school age students that involve a real or perceived, which just means what you think is what you feel is a power imbalance. So, that means someone older than you, stronger than you, someone that has more power over you. And this behavior that they're treating you with is repeated. So, it's over and over. And or it has the potential to be repeated over time. So both of the kids, the bully and the victim of bullying, are having a hard time and it's very serious and there are lasting problems. So we're going to talk about that today. Some examples of bullying are name calling, making fun of, or unwelcome teasing. So sometimes we like to tease with our friends and it's okay. And other times we don't like it. And so when we express that we don't like being teased, but yet someone does it over and over again, that is not okay. Other examples are pushing, shoving, and damaging someone's property. There's also something called cyberbullying. And you might be wondering, cyber, is that internet? Yes, you're correct. So it's using different technology, internet, over email, using cell phones or tablets, devices like that, through social media and pictures, using those things to hurt or harm someone else. So some examples of cyberbullying are sending mean text messages, posting something online that's unkind and not true. And even, I will say, even if it is something that's true, but is not for anyone else to see and it's unkind, we should not be posting it or talking about it. Sending or posting pictures that are not yours to share, making mean or negative comments about someone, and agreeing with someone. So someone else could be bullying and posting unkind or untrue or just not nice things. And then maybe you comment under or you do a little laughing emoji. That's also contributing or being part of what's called cyberbullying. So what to do if you or someone you know is being bullied? So it's very important that you tell someone, talk to your parents or a trusted adult that you can trust. So this might look like your parents, your guardian, your pastor, youth leaders, your teachers, your principal, and also your school counselors. Please do not blame yourself. It is not your fault. People who bully are often hurting themselves inside, and so they choose to hurt others. Act confident, hold your head up, and stand up straight. You are important, you are loved, you are valued, you are a child of God, and you should act like it. So avoid situations that might lead to bullying. So if you are online and you see, maybe you have a friend and they're not acting nice online and you think, oh, I should comment on it because they're my friend, but I don't really want to, just avoid that. Don't comment, don't like it, don't share it, unless you're talking to an adult about it. And then if you're in a situation in public, so at church or at an activity in your community, and there is an action being done that's bullying or being, unkind to someone, again, please walk away from it and go get an adult. Don't resort to violence. And that just means if something is being done to you, please do not do it back, and especially not hurting and harming others in a violent way. And please don't refuse to help bully other people. Please refuse to help bully other people. And that means if you have someone like a friend or a sibling that's bullying and they're like, come on, do it with me. And they're pressuring you and you feel really uncomfortable, refuse to help them. Do not do it. Do not go along with it, and go and get an adult. So yes, find a teacher or an adult if you are witnessing the bullying, because you might not be the person doing it, but even if you're around it, it's really important to help. And then encourage the bullied person to talk to the parents or a trusted adult. So if you know someone that's being bullied and they're talking to you and they're sharing with you because they trust you, that's great. But it's also important to go get that adult. So you can stay safe when you use technology and the internet. At Enlidium, you go online into Ignitia, right, to do your lessons and learn. You might go to Livebinder and all the other resources that Miss Wilson talked about to get help. And so you know how to use the internet, but there's also other responsible and secure ways to be careful and cautious and take steps to protect yourself and others online. So what are some of those ways? To ask your parent or guardian for permission before posting online, before even going online to new websites, or even chatting with others online. So you might be taking a break from your work at Enlidium and you want to go on to a website and you're unsure. Maybe it's a website you've seen at a friend's or that you've gone on before, but it's always important to talk to an adult before going to a new website. And talking to someone, even if you know that person, I would just make your adult or guardian aware of what you're doing online. Only talk to people that you know in real life. It's very important that you only talk to the people that you know. There's lots of people on the internet, and there's people that don't always have our best interest, and they're not safe to talk to or share information with. Only accept friend or follow requests from people that you know. Sometimes it might be someone that's in your community and maybe you've seen them once or twice. It's a good idea to talk to your adult or parent in your house about, hey, do I add this person? Do I talk to this person? Because strangers do not need to know your business. Keep personal information private. So what does that mean? That means not sharing your full name, not sharing your address, not sharing your location, not sharing your phone number, not sharing that you go to Enlidium Academy, and please do not share your passwords online or through social media or through text message. Treat others online with kindness and respect. So that we talked about that a little bit. When you're online, you're posting things or sharing things, let's remember to be kind and respectful and loving, just like you would be in person. Remember, if it's not nice, don't post it. If you see cyberbullying, if you see something on these different websites or even through email or text message, please tell an adult. Be careful clicking on links. You might see something that a friend shares, or you might get something in text message or email, and you think, oh, I should click on that. Be careful because sometimes things can download that will harm your computer or steal your information that you have on your computer. So be really careful with that. And you can also check with an adult about if you could click on that link. Just because it is posted online does not mean that it's true. Talk with an adult about what you read online before you trust it. There's lots of different information about that. Even if you're researching for school, please talk to your teacher about that as well. The last thing I want to talk about is setting limits on screen time. So we would love for you to spend about 3 to 5 hours each school day on your schoolwork. But we understand that that's a long time to have your eyes on the screen. And so we want to encourage you to set limits, set a timer, have your parents set a timer, and take that time to, instead of using your devices, so just getting off of Enlidium and Ignitia and going to another game on a device. Instead of doing that, I encourage you to go outside, to paint, do different activities like listen to music, or ask your family if you can help with any tasks around the house or things that you can do to be helpful. So now we're going to talk about groups. Each year, we offer some groups through the school counselors. They're consisted of a small number of students, and once the groups are formed, they meet on a short-term weekly basis, and you'll get to learn and discuss a certain topic like how to be successful in your academics. Maybe we'll talk about your emotions, and if you're going through a difficult time, how to have healthy coping strategies. Who leads the groups? The counselors do. And we will use your feedback to figure out or determine the topics for the next group. We will be sending out more information to you soon on groups, and we hope to see you there. Now I'm going to give it off to Mrs. Benedict to talk about how to contact us.
Thank you. All right. So on here, we have two different emails. So our third through fourth graders, we've got the email on there for the third through fourth grade counselor, who's Miss Doherty, as well as a link to her Calendly. So that's who you're going to reach out to. You probably have already gotten emails from her, so you probably already have it. But if you don't, it's on here. And again, these slides will be emailed out. And then for our fifth graders, we have the fifth grade counselor at enlidiumacademy.com. Oh, I'm sorry. The third through fourth grade counselor email usually goes to Mrs. Crisp, who is out right now. So that will be going to Mrs. Wilson. However, the Calendly appointments are with Miss Doherty. For fifth grade, your emails do go to Miss Doherty. That's fifth grade counselor at enlidiumacademy.com. And then the Calendly link is on there too. So now we're going to take a little time to answer questions that came in the chat during the webinar. The first question I had from a student was if there are any breaks in December, which is yes, there is a winter break in December. I recommend, if you haven't already, go onto the knowledge base and download that school calendar and either print off a copy or keep one on your computer, or do both. It can be really good to have a printed copy at your workstation so you can see, and then to have just like a virtual copy you can access as well. Because there are breaks that come up, and then sometimes, like we talked about, those breaks might mean Ignitia is down. So it's good to know that in advance so that you don't wake up that morning thinking you're going to do a ton of Ignitia work, and then it's like, oh, I can't log in. And it happens every year, so it's important to check. I saw a lot of students who were saying that they were, working against bullying, which is great. I think that's awesome. And I like that y'all reached out and let us know that. I will also say that this week in the parent app, there have been videos about, what does bullying look like? How can you be an upstander against bullying? So I really recommend that, if your parents are in the parent app, which they should be, that you ask if y'all can sit down and watch those videos, because they're really good resources on just, like, how do I not bully? Because it can be really easy to get sucked into it sometimes. And you just got to double check and make sure, like, okay, am I living life in a godly way and avoiding some of these potentially tempting situations to make fun of other people to fit in? I did have a student ask, why is it not nice to bully? And that's a long question. I'll let Mrs. Doherty answer that question, or Miss Doherty answer that question, actually.
So it goes back to what is the reason why there's bullying, and we talked about some of those reasons. Maybe the person that is doing the bullying, they're feeling hurt inside. Maybe they're being hurt by other people, and so a way to have an unhealthy coping is hurting others. And it's not good to be unkind to others. God doesn't ask for us to do that. He asks us to love one another. And so I think an important thing to do is before we talk to someone, it could be our family and it could be our friends. Is this loving? The way I speak, the way I act, the way I treat them. And if it's not, if it doesn't seem like it, then we shouldn't be doing that.
Thank you. I got another question that was, how do we avoid bullying?
Oh, thank you for asking that. So a way to avoid it, it depends maybe if you're online or if you're in person. If you're online and you're seeing cyberbullying, I would encourage you to go and tell an adult. Do not share the picture or the post. Do not comment on it. Do not like it. And like I said, go and talk to an adult about it. If you're in person and you're seeing someone being bullied, you're witnessing it, you can politely say, please stop doing that and go get an adult, depending on if it's an unsafe situation and you need to get out of there right away. Say, please stop doing that, go get an adult, and also don't engage. That just means don't also start doing that, because sometimes there can be that pressure of, oh, I want to fit in, I want to be cool, so I'm gonna make fun of this person too or be unkind. And then later why did I do that? It wasn't nice to do. So Those are ways to avoid it by walking away from it, not commenting, not also doing that behavior, and going and getting a trusted adult for help.
Excellent. Thank you. Yeah, and those are great answers. And again, if your parents or guardians have the parent app, go on there, watch those videos. And just get more information there. I'm seeing some questions being asked that have already been answered. So if you missed the answer, you can go back and watch this video when it comes out again. Especially for those bullying related questions that we just talked about, you can either rewatch this or you can go on to the parent app and watch those videos, and those will answer those for you. Other than that, I'm not seeing a lot of other questions popping up. So again, make sure that you know that there are blackout days on Ignitia coming up where you won't be able to log in during that quarter break. Be prepared for that. Maybe download a project you can work on or take some time off and go do something fun. Otherwise, thank you so much for being here. We appreciate having you here, and I hope you have a great rest of your week.